Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Chapter 55. Misfortune. Chi Wei said, "Did you notice that there's someone following us?" "There is." JIXIAN suddenly became alert. Chi Wei nodded and said, "Go sit over there by the stone, and pay attention to the surrounding environment. I guess that most likely, Xiang Cheng went to collect firewood in order to lead him over. I'm also going to go a bit further away, and don't worry if you get caught, we're here to save you." JIXIAN nodded, went over bare-chested, and sat in front of a stone. Chi Wei broke a branch and made a hook with the pin of his badge. Then he stuck a small piece of lunch meat on the pin, and threw it into the river to fish. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes passed. Half an hour later, the water splashed with a plop. Chi Wei had caught a fish. Their clothes were drying on the stone and JIXIAN was feeling sleepy again. So, he lay down on the grass in the sun and fell asleep, the cloth bag draped over his head. When Chi Wei caught the second fish, Xiang Cheng came back with firewood and began to make a fire to roast the fish. JIXIAN finally woke up and yawned. Chi Wei turned over the roasted fish over the fire, and the three of them kept silent. Xiang Cheng sprinkled salt on the fish, and Chi Wei suddenly said, "The other party is very cunning." Xiang Cheng said, "The first investigation was necessary, and the other party will need to come a second time. Maybe it wants to show itself when we fight with the Exorcist Committee's Yaoguai," Chi Wei said. "We have to figure out a way to lure it out." "Our purpose isn't to lure it out," Xiang Cheng said, "it's to find out what the other party wants to do." "Who is it?" JIXIAN asked. "Don't know," Xiang Cheng said in a low voice. Chi Wei shook his head. They didn't even know who it was. JIXIAN thought of the light orb in charge of watching over them, floating back and forth behind him. Was the Exorcist Committee watching them right now? "I'll be bait," JIXIAN decided quickly and said, "I'll lure him out so we can find out." "No," Xiang Cheng said immediately. "You're not curious as to what that is?" JIXIAN asked. "Xiang Cheng, safety comes first." JIXIAN said, "I actually really like taking risks. It's not open for discussion." Xiang Cheng said, "My taking risks and your taking risks are not the same thing." JIXIAN leaned into Xiang Cheng's embrace to sleep. He could feel Xiang Cheng's hand brushing back and forth against his shoulders. He seemed to really enjoy the feel of their skin rubbing together. JIXIAN was a little ticklish from the rubbing and wanted to get up to put on his clothes, but Xiang Cheng didn't let go. "I'm too thin." JIXIAN blocked Xiang Cheng's hand and said, "Don't touch my ribs." "You're a beautiful boy," Xiang Cheng said casually. JIXIAN quietly looked at the lake and said to Xiang Cheng, "Sleep, 1, 2, 3, sleep." Xiang Cheng looked at him with his eyes open. JIXIAN rubbed his eyebrows to make him close his eyes and asked, "Did you get any sleep the night before last?" "I was too excited to sleep," Xiang Cheng replied. JIXIAN said with a smile, "Me, too." Xiang Cheng napped for a bit. A moment later, Chi Wei, wearing only his underwear, went to the lake for a swim and to take a bath. JIXIAN took off his shoes and went to the lake to wash his feet and socks. A man suddenly appeared at his feet. JIXIAN was so frightened that he almost cried out. Chi Wei laughed with a ha-ha and waved his hand to show that he didn't need to be afraid. "Here comes the person who has been following us all this time." Chi Wei whispered, "I put a seal in the lake. Just sit here and don't move, lure it over." With that, Chi Wei stood up by the lake and went to the stone in the distance to get dressed. Dark clouds came and covered up the sunlight, and the lake grew dark in the blink of an eye. JIXIAN was shirtless and only wearing a pair of cargo shorts on his bottom half. His feet were soaking in the water, and he was very nervous. Chi Wei put on his clothes with his back to JIXIAN, while Xiang Cheng was lying on the grass, asleep. JIXIAN looked into the water, and a gloomy face was reflected in the lake behind him. It was Luan. Before JIXIAN could cry out, Luan immediately waved his arms, tossed out a leather belt, wrapped it around JIXIAN's neck and dragged him away from the lake. However, in the next moment, a water arrow exploded from the lake. Qi Wei and the sleeping Xiang Cheng had been waiting for this moment. At the same time, they rushed towards the lake and encircled him, coming at him from the left and the right. The water arrow in the lake exploded, turned into a roaring blue water dragon, and rushed at Luan. Luan was hit in the chest and flew backwards. JIXIAN was able to get rid of the bindings and run towards Xiang Cheng. Xiang Cheng had already set up traps around the dense forest by the lake. When he drew his hand back, the Yao binding rope turned into a snare that came down heavily upon Luan's head. However, Luan moved faster than them. The moment that the Yao binding rope was closing around him, he flew away with a shua, and his whole person dissolved into powder. JIXIAN. The powder dispersed through the gaps in the net formed by the Yao binding rope. Someone had turned into powder in front of them. This was something JIXIAN had never seen or heard of before. Even Xiang Cheng was stunned. In this second, the powder turned into a whirlwind, which twisted towards JIXIAN. It wrapped him in the whirlwind, before shooting into the woods. Xiang Cheng shook open the Yao imprisoning banner and shouted, "Capture!" The Yao imprisoning banner immediately chased after the whirlwind, but the whirlwind went faster and disappeared in the span of that crucial second. JIXIAN suddenly turned his head back, raised his hand, and waved at Xiang Cheng to not panic. In that mere half a second that their eyes met, and JIXIAN was taken away. JIXIAN was whirled around and felt that he had hit a branch. A hand then formed from the wind, grabbed his wrist, dragged him up the tree, jumped on the tree, and headed deep into the hinterland of the virgin forest. "Slow, slow, slow. Slow down a bit." JIXIAN bumped around the tree and shouted, "It hurts ah." The whirlwind turned into a person, and Luan's body and appearance returned. Luan wasn't wearing a hat like he had been before, and one eye was murky while his upper body was bare. He threw JIXIAN to the ground. This was a deserted forest, filled with fallen leaves. JIXIAN coughed a few times as he sat up. He then retreated behind a big tree as Luan's footsteps slowly approached. Luan didn't say a word, and the two of them looked at each other. JIXIAN. Luan began to laugh coldly. "You." JIXIAN saw a familiar expression in his eyes. He suddenly had a flash of insight, remembering Chao Bin's expression outside Chen Zhen's office in the Exorcist department. Luan whistled at JIXIAN. "You. Who are you?" JIXIAN grabbed a branch and said tremblingly, Don't come near me." Luan approached JIXIAN and remarked, "Good figure." JIXIAN was barefooted, and he was wearing only a pair of cargo shorts. His arms were bare and he was breathing quickly as he nervously watched Luan. "Your reactions are also pretty good." Luan said, "Let me guess, what powers do you have?" "I don't know." Luan smiled sarcastically and said, "Do you know what powers I have?" "Who exactly are you?" JIXIAN said, "Are you Dinghai?" Luan's eyebrows moved slightly, and his expression and demeanor made everything obvious. JIXIAN's back immediately felt numb. He hadn't left yet. It must have been premeditated. What was he doing back here? At this time, he was not worried about himself but about the safety of the examiners. "What abilities do you have?" JIXIAN asked nervously. "My power is..." Luan looked up and down at JIXIAN's body with a perverse smile, "eating people." JIXIAN had fair skin and youthful muscles. He had a feeling that Luan's gaze had fallen on them. "After I eat you," Luan said coldly, "I'll receive your powers, do you understand?" Luan waved at the tree and a squirrel flew over. He then grabbed the squirrel by its neck, brought it to its mouth, and took a bite. "Fuck ah!" JIXIAN was immediately terrified as saw Luan's mouth full of blood. You eat people, eat animals, what Yaoguai likes eating. JIXIAN suddenly had a strong impulse to update an entry in his booklet. Countless data flashed in his mind, and all unreasonable surface appearances were uncovered, pointing directly towards the deepest truth. The legends in the books and the information on the exam were automatically arranged and combined, and he came to a conclusion. You are a dowdy. JIXIAN smiled. Luan. You must be a dowdy. JIXIAN said, either you have the power of a dowdy, or you are the offspring of one. Eating, I know. Dowdies are big foodies, they eat non-stop, right? Luan's expression changed in an instant. JIXIAN patted at the mud on his butt, got up, and said, we are family ma, fifth brother. The dragon has 9 sons, why don't you guess which one I am? Luan's look right now was completely like he wanted to start cursing loudly, family my ass, who recognizes you However, JIXIAN was too good at coming up with stuff, and Luan was already completely dizzy from his words. JIXIAN's eyes glistened with warm tears, and he shouted, Ge! Scram! Luan's lungs were about to explode. He didn't know how to deal with JIXIAN at all. JIXIAN was about to go over and get close to him, but Luan grabbed his neck in one hand. Stop playing tricks on me. Luan pushed JIXIAN, and JIXIAN fell to the ground again. JIXIAN coughed a few times. Luan looked at him suspiciously, but he couldn't figure out what he was. JIXIAN hastily waved his hand and said, don't attack me Hey. Please let's get along, let's get along. Don't eat me yet. Let's talk first, okay? Luan. Asterisk. Along the mountain road, the SUV stopped, and Lin Yura and teacher Zheng got out. Right here ba. Lin Yura helped and support teacher Zheng as she said, Elder Zheng, watch your step. Teacher Zheng shook his head and let out a cold hat. A man came out from under a tree by the road, and it was Master Chiao. If it weren't for Elder Zheng's 7 treasure Bodhi tree this time, Master Chiao said, the Exorcist committee would be done for. You guys nay. Teacher Zheng said, this old man can help the Exorcist committee for a bit, but I cannot watch over it for a lifetime. I can't just go pulling out this artifact every time something doesn't succeed, isn't that right? Lin Yura sighed helplessly. Teacher Zheng took off his sunglasses and stood by the tree. The white clouds above were long, the sky was clear, and dark clouds crept from the edge of the sky, just like ghosts. Dinghai has returned. Master Chiao said keenly. He definitely can't resist coming back. Lin Yura said faintly, after so many years of imprisonment, his cultivation has already wasted away to nearly nothing. With so much to eat, he can randomly eat any of them and his cultivation level will increase greatly. How could he resist not coming back? It's too dangerous, old Buddha. Master Chiao said, if Zhou Mokuo is the spy, the consequences will be unimaginable. No. Lin Yura said, if Mokuo wanted to hide himself well, there would be no need to give special treatment to the child of the Xiang family. Let Dishuman and the Qi family deal with the matter of the spy ba. Asterisk. Deep in the cabin. Dishuman didn't say anything. She adjusted the sand table, gathered up a pile of sand, blocked a group's path forward with it, and gently tapped with her fingers to complete the collapse of 2 roads connecting the cliff. Let's add a tree Yao. Dishuman said. Wang Lei opened the box and let Dishuman choose. He said with a laugh, Teacher D is using such a gentle monster. The mind is greater than brute force ma. Dishuman said gently, the most powerful Yaoguai should come at the end. Why did the mirror Yao come out so early? Wang Lei closed the lid and replied, the old Buddha put it in. Dishuman then pulled out the mirror demon, pondered for a moment, and then said, Let's put it in front of the exit bot. Dishuman leaned over to stick the mirror Yao's flag into the exit at the edge of the sand table when suddenly, a cold light flashed behind her. Then, a golden light burst out from the bracelet that Lin Yura had handed Dishuman, and with a wang, it blocked a sharp sword coming at her from behind. Dishuman rolled and hid under the table. Wang Lei jumped over the sand table, and as he threw out his watch, it turned into a sword. Dishuman leapt back, and Wang Lei chased after her. Dishuman was in the air when her long hair curled up with a shua and then snapped forth like a whip at Wang Lei's head. "Teacher Wang!" Dishuman sneered, "You finally couldn't wait any longer, huh?" The sharp sword in Wang Lei's hand burst into flames, and the air was filled with the smell of burning hair. He didn't say a word but instead brought his sword down on Dishuman. Dishuman flew through the air, spinning as she did. With a hula sound, she turned into countless colorful butterflies and flew into the woods. Wang Lei quickly chased her after her. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. In the woods. If I had known earlier that it was you, I wouldn't have hurt you that day. JIXIAN said sincerely, "How do you have a Daoti's power?" "Allow me to introduce myself, I'm Huan, fifth brother, hello." "Hello ah." JIXIAN reached out his hand to shake hands with Luan. Luan, however, was suspicious and didn't shake hands with him. "Do you feel the familiar scent on me?" JIXIAN asked. Luan's expression kept changing in 1,000 different ways, and it was an especially amazing sight to behold. In fact, he had chased after JIXIAN because he carried some dragon power in him, but in the end, he couldn't determine what JIXIAN actually was. At this moment, there was an explosion in the distance that made everything shake. JIXIAN turned his head and looked over in dismay. There were muffled sounds, dark clouds gathered, thunder and lightning flashed, shrouding the whole examination area of the Arkan Mountains under dark clouds. "What's that?" At the other end of the mountain range, Kita, Chenzhen, and the others who were climbing, turned around to look. Some group of unlucky people triggered some mechanism. Zhou Wanyuan said, "The divine thunder curse. Does there need to be this kind of forbidden spell ah?" Kita said, "It's too cruel bah." At the same time, all the candidates who were taking the exam in the mountains saw the lightning, followed by bursts of thunder and torrential rain. The weather in the mountains changed as soon as they noticed. It was as if a gate had opened up on the horizon and rain came pouring out. Zhou Mokuo rode a motorcycle and appeared on the mountain road. When he arrived at the site of the explosion, he set the motorcycle flat on the ground and ran to the side of the road amidst the pouring rain. At the side of the road, the wreckage of the SUV had caught fire and was burning hotly. There was no one in the car, and Zhou Mokuo looked around frantically. "Teacher Zheng." Zhou Mokuo said anxiously, "Old Buddha. The truth has been revealed, it's Wang Lei." Lin Yura murmured. Master Qiao hid behind a tree and said, "Be careful, I'll be in charge of providing you all with assistance." Lin Yura and Teacher Zheng came out from behind the tree. Zhou Mokuo let out a breath and shook his head. "Where are Dishuman and Wang Lei?" Lin Yura asked. "They're still at the headquarters." Zhou Mokuo wiped away the water on his face and said, "Should we inform the candidates that the exam is suspended?" Lin Yura said, "The exam will continue, the biggest enemy still hasn't come out yet." Zhou Mokuo understood what had happened in a second and said with a smile, "Sure enough, old ginger is still the spiciest, old Buddha. It takes one to know one." Lin Yura said faintly. "Our troops are divided." Zhou Mokuo said, "You go back to the cabin for support, and I'll protect Teacher Zheng here." "No." Lin Yura said faintly, "You go back to provide reinforcements, and I'll protect Teacher Zheng." Zhou Mokuo pondered for a moment. Teacher Zheng waved his hand and said to Zhou Mokuo, "Go, Xiaoro will keep me company, it'll be fine." Zhou Mokuo nodded, turned to get on his motorcycle, and left. Teacher Zheng said, "It's been many years now. Since the last time I saw Mara, 200 years have passed. Lin Yura kept glancing vigilantly at the road in all directions, clutching the golden beads tightly in her hand. Teacher Zhang stuck his cane directly in the middle of the road. The cane sprouted, branches twisting together, extending endlessly, before expanding into branches and leaves to form a towering tree. Starting from the bottom of the tree, it began to turn into metal, glittering in the light, becoming a metal object. In an instant, the thunder from the skies came down on the natural lightning rod, shaking the great tree, and demonic arcs of lightning shot beat between each leaf. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Deep in the dense forest. JIXIAN looked at Luan, and they said nothing for a moment. JIXIAN approached Luan a little timidly, thinking quickly, has Xiang Cheng come yet? He should have caught up by now, was he around? It would be better to sell some cuteness to make the enemy lower his guard first. Luan seemed unable to judge whether JIXIAN was an enemy or one of his own. At this moment, another lightning struck straight down, black smoke rose in the distance, and a great fire started in the forest. In an instant, the periphery of the greater Qing'an mountain seemed to have undergone imperceptible misfortune. There was a rustle in the dense forest, and countless plumes of ghostly black smoke rolled in from the periphery. What are you doing here? JIXIAN asked again. What? Luan shouted, having already been completely confused by JIXIAN. The sound of the rainstorm was really too loud, and JIXIAN felt a hand stretch out behind him and grab his wrist. A soda can ring scraped gently against his arm. Xiang Cheng had arrived. I said. JIXIAN asked again, do you want to take me as a hostage? Kill Uncle Joe? If so, we have to go now. Luan took a step forward and JIXIAN took a step back a little fearfully. Luan said, Shu and Mara are already taking care of them. Let me see your eyes. Perhaps it was JIXIAN's previous words that had made Luan let down his guard. At this time, Luan already had none of his previous irritability. He stepped forward and JIXIAN stepped back. Luan said impatiently, don't hide. In a blink of an eye, the hand behind him pulled JIXIAN behind the tree. Xiang Cheng whirled out and slammed the staff at Luan's head. Luan suddenly stepped back, the thunder cut through the sky, and Qi Wei appeared behind him. Silently, he struck forward with a Tang-style Dao and immediately ran Luan through with it. Luan was caught off guard, and after being stabbed by the Dao, blood gushed from his chest and sprayed Xiang Cheng. Qi Wei then shouted, break. The two of them moved at the same time. In just 1 second, Xiang Cheng whirled around the demon-subduing staff, Qi Wei waved the Dao, and Luan was cut in two. Fifth brother JIXIAN shouted out exaggeratedly. The black qi suddenly exploded outwards. Luan raised his head and stared at JIXIAN with blood-red eyes. JIXIAN was immediately frightened and staggered back, but Xiang Cheng was not afraid at all. As he said, capture, the Yao imprisoning banner shook out towards Luan. Luan's body suddenly disappeared, and he turned into a black monster. He immediately howled and retreated. Qi Wei threw out a flashing object, and as it whirled through the air, it caught onto the monster's body. The monster quickly avoided the Yao imprisoning banner and flew away, but the part that the flashing object was caught on began to burn. Chase it? Xiang Cheng threw JIXIAN's clothes over at him, and he put them on in a hurry. Qi Wei had already started to chase after the monster. JIXIAN took a few steps, and then Xiang Cheng crouched down to help him put on his shoes and asked, what was that? It's a dowdy. JIXIAN said, it was corrupted. It's very difficult to deal with. It doesn't look like it. Xiang Cheng said, dowdies don't look like that. It can become what it eats. JIXIAN said, Luan must have been eaten. JIXIAN's scalp felt numb. Xiang Cheng dragged him to start running wildly, but the dowdy had completely disappeared. Qi Wei flew after the dowdy, and the flashing object stuck to the Doubty's legs continued to eat away at its body. The Doughty rushed to the lake where JIXIAN had rested. Qi Wei jumped into the air, spread out his hands, and then clasped them together in front of him. At that moment, a frenzied light burst out of Qi Wei's body, and the backs of his hands turned into shining scales. Within a second, his whole body was covered with dragon scales. The armored dragon scales on his body were constantly changing color, from red to blue to black to white. The Doughty roared at him, and Qi Wei clenched his hands into fists. When he opened his mouth, another even more powerful roar rang out in the face of the energy bombardment. Like a dragon's cry in profound silence. The dragon scales on Qi Wei's hands burst out with a strong light. Even with the frightening cry of a dragon ringing all around, the Doughty's eyes showed a look of fear. However, it was already too late to dodge, and Qi Wei punched it right in the chest. The black gas burst, and a big hole appeared in the Doughty's chest. It flew back and fell into the distance. Qi Wei was about to chase after him again, but he felt a strong force rolling towards the mountains and forests. He immediately gave up his plan, turned around and began to run away. The rain was getting heavier, to the point that they couldn't even see now. JIXIAN said, "Don't mind me. You go first." "No." Xiang Cheng said. They were separated from Qi Wei, and they ran and ran. They stopped in an open space. In front of them was a small house with an open door, and light was shining from inside. "Where is this?" JIXIAN was confused. Xiang Cheng gripped the demon-subduing staff and was ready to guard against attacks from inside, but nothing came out. JIXIAN hid behind Xiang Cheng and peeked his head out to take a look. This was a cabin composed of 3 rooms side by side, with a reed bed in each of the rooms to the left and right. In the middle room, there was a wooden table with a moving sand table, and the top of the sand table was still shining. The light went through the wall from all angles of the house, shot in, gathered into a ball of light above the sand table, and then released a projection from the ball of light. "Yi," JIXIAN said, "a map of the mountains and rivers. How can there be such a thing here?" Xiang Cheng had heard of it, but he had never seen it before. A map of the mountains and rivers. It's a bit like a creator system. JIXIAN said, "It's a powerful but strange magical artifact." "I see." JIXIAN observed the sand table. This was the examiner room for the practical examination. But what about the examiners? Shouldn't someone be manipulating things here? There was the sound of thunder in the distance. Xiang Cheng looked around, then shook out the Yao binding rope, and put a seal over the whole room. "You wait here and don't go anywhere. I can use this." JIXIAN said, "Take the Yao binding rope away with you, ba." Xiang Cheng waved his hand, opened the door and rushed into the rain. JIXIAN looked up at the ball of light up above and then noticed a box in the corner, so he opened it up. It seemed to be really fun, JIXIAN thought. Let's get ready to play with this map of the mountains and rivers. End chapter. Post-training notice. National First Class Registered Exorcist. Chapter 56. Counterattack. JIXIAN thought, first figure out the spiritual vein of this magical artifact. The map of mountains and rivers is a legendary grade artifact. Even the Exorcist Committee's textbook didn't mention how to use it, but the ancient books from Chen Zhen's family had picture records, and most importantly, legendary grade treasures could be used without any spiritual power. At that time, JIXIAN couldn't help but marvel at the magic of the artifact. After looking at it over and over again, he thought it would be good if he could have such a magical artifact. Now he finally had a chance. JIXIAN first put in a glass marble marked with the word "I," before he climbed onto the table, pulled down a mirror, and rotated the glass marble with his fingers to make it shine in front of the mirror. An image appeared in the mirror. Xiang Cheng was running in the rain. JIXIAN reached into the sand table and moved all the trees on the road in front of Xiang Cheng away. The forest in front of Xiangcheng fell down in unison. Did you see that? I saw it. Xiangcheng heard Zhi Ziaduo's voice behind his shoulder. He then shook open his broken umbrella, used the momentum to fly off the ground, and rushed towards the battle unfolding on a distant cliff. Dishuman and Wang Lei were fighting each other. Thunder crashed, swords sparked, and the rain in all directions crystallized into ice. The sword in Wang Lei's hand had turned into a crystal-clear blade, and then it turned the pouring rain into spears of ice, which spun and shot at Dishuman. In the cabin, Zhi Ziaduo thought, let's start with some natural disasters So, with a wave of his hand, Zhi Ziaduo sent the whole mountain collapsing down towards Wang Lei. Wang Lei quickly dodged away. In the midst of all this, Zhi Ziaduo threw some sand at the end of the sand table, at the black dowdy running away towards the edge. At the same time, mud, stones, and trees rose in a thick layer to cover the sky as they rolled towards the dowdy. The dowdy screamed as it was crushed below. It dissolved into black gas, reformed into a person, and stumbled away with a broken leg. Watch my side. Xiangcheng roared, don't pay attention to Jinghao. Zhi Ziaduo couldn't split his attention between two things and hurriedly turned to Xiangcheng's battlefield. Dishuman was holding two circular blades, and she twirled through the air, blocking all the flying ice spikes. However, lightning kept striking down, and the ice spikes were almost impossible to shield against, blocking her retreat. Wang Lei sneered. Teacher Di, isn't it such a pity that you didn't bring out the map of mountains and rivers? Xiangcheng, I'm afraid I won't be able to make it in time. Dishuman is in danger. I'll put in some more yaoguai. Zhi Ziaduo hurriedly said, don't worry. In the wooden house, Zhi Ziaduo took the box and thought, it's best if I put in more than I was planning. However, his hand slipped and all the yao sealing glass beads in the box tumbled in. Zhi Ziaduo, ah! Dishuman's battlefield was immediately filled with flying pig yao, bird yao, and cow yao. In an instant, they came flooding over the battlefield in a giant wave, turning everything into a complete mess. Wang Lei shouted in a panic, what is going on? A tornado sprung into existence, capturing a large, dense group of large and small yao and sending them flying. Trees were sent flying into the air, and a screaming Kyanki slammed into Dishuman and sent her flying. Xiangcheng grabbed a Liguang horse that was running for its life, mounted it up and turned the Liguang horse around as he rushed into battle. The head of a completely armored corpse ghost that fell in battle slammed towards Wang Lei, smearing aged green brains all over his face. It was dark all around, and yao were everywhere. Wang Lei still wanted to chase after Dishuman and kill her, but he also had to duck away from the gaping mouth of a strange snake. He was completely in a muddle, and the tail of the Yanwei snake was wrapped around his neck. Finally got out. Your time has come, humans. Wild devils danced through the air, and the pageant of 100 yao all rushed at Wang Lei. Dishuman, who is using the map of the mountains and rivers? Dishuman yelled, don't mess around with it. Wang Lei's roar sounded like thunder in a clear sky, and a ball of lightning expanded outwards from his body, protecting himself. In the next second, he had clearly determined Dishuman's whereabouts. Next, he stabbed forward with his sword, and the sharp blades that filled the air swept away the yaoguai, and with a shua, they shot directly towards Dishuman. Dishuman couldn't dodge, so she withdrew and jumped off the cliff. 4 bolts of lightning shot down as well, striking right where she would land. A piece of the cliffside broke off, and with no foothold to land on, Dishuman plummeted off the cliff. Wang Lei held up his sword horizontally against his body, and he drew his fingers across the blade, fresh blood spilling across its surface. The tens of thousands of icicles that surrounded them now glowed with red light. Wang Lei gathered his qi, and a wild wind began to blow everywhere. Thunder roared, lightning flashed, and at the moment that he was about to end Dishuman, The huge rock that was falling suddenly reversed course in midair and started to lift Dishuman up. In the next second, Xiang Cheng roared angrily, closed his umbrella, and flew in from the side, kicking Wang Lei in the waist. Wang Lei went flying like a cannonball and slammed into the cliff. JIXIAN laughed gleefully and said, "If it takes too long to cast a spell, there's a risk of it getting interrupted." Xiang Cheng yelled, "Retreat!" Dishuman leapt backward in midair, dissolved into tens of thousands of butterflies, and flew back into the wood cabin. With the wood cabin as the center, across the hundreds of square kilometers of the virgin forests of the Arkan Mountains, black gas poured down from the sky to the ground. The black gas gathered into a ring and formed a huge encirclement, rapidly closing in towards the center. Crap, JIXIAN looked at the sand plate, as each grain of sand began to turn black and go out of control. Xiang Cheng shook open the demon-subduing staff and ran a few steps up the cliff. His head spinning, Wang Lei raised his head and swept his sword out. Xiang Cheng's demon-subduing staff, on the other hand, glowed with a golden light, before it turned into the shape of a huge sword. With a slash that could split mountains, he raised the great sword to shoulder height and slashed straight down at Wang Lei. Wang Lei's water crystal sword slammed into Xiang Cheng's sword of wisdom. Normal artifacts could not hold up against a blade that held the true essence of Akala, so it instantly shattered. Xiang Cheng circled back in midair, kicking Wang Lei with a foot. Wang Lei was bleeding profusely, and he drew out an arc of red in the air as he fell down the cliff. Xiang Cheng was about to chase after him, when inky black gas shot out of the woods, like a black wave overwhelming a central island. It then turned into an earth-shattering flock of crows, converging into a huge hand that pressed down on Xiang Cheng. In the blink of an eye, JIXIAN swept the cliff away, and the whole mountain ridge collapsed with a loud crash, sending mud, trees, and rocks crashing into the palm of the huge hand. The huge hand closed into a fist, and the mountain peaks were crushed to dust. Rocks went flying every which way. Xiang Cheng withdrew, and as soon as he landed on the ground, he ran for his life, rushing back into the wooden cabin in the woods. The black gas gathered together faster and faster as it surged wildly towards the wooden cabin in the woods. There were fewer and fewer areas that he could control, and for a moment, JIXIAN was at a loss as to what to do. What to do, nay. External forces have invaded, like a virus infecting a central computer, and now the map of mountains and rivers is frozen. The four principles of life: if it doesn't work, then leave; if you like it, then buy it, drink some more water, and try restarting it. Let's just restart it, JIXIAN thought. Dishuman rushed towards the wooden cabin. JIXIAN stretched out his hand and pulled the light orb on the top of the sand table towards him. The light orb descended rapidly, and he then turned his palm over, put his palm against the light orb, and pressed it against the sand table. A circular shock wave rose up from the sand table, like a reversed tsunami or an invisible hurricane. It broke out from the wooden cabin, spread out rapidly and swept in all directions in a second. All the Yaogwai turned into motes of light again and shot into the glass marbles. JIXIAN was still counting 1, 2, 3, 4, as he placed the glass marbles back into the lattices of the box. Xiang Cheng, who was in the middle of running, put his hands on his head and flattened himself against the ground. A strong green-blue light burst out of his body, and the shape of the boss snake appeared, as if it was resisting the force of this huge impact. The black gas corroding the whole forest was immediately swept away, and the blackened trees along the way were restored to their original state. After the hurricane swept through, Xiang Cheng got up and ran towards the cabin again. Dishuman finally arrived. Dishuman, who are you? I. JIXIAN backed away, pointed to the sand table, and said, "External forces invaded and disturbed the energy field. I shut down the map of mountains and rivers, but how do we turn it back on now?" Dishuman was almost paralyzed. She leaned against the door and gasped. JIXIAN asked, "Did I do something disastrous?" No, Dishuman said, you did very well. Are you an exorcist? I'm. JIXIAN suddenly had a bright idea and replied, I'm a hostage. Ah. Do you think I look like a hostage? Xiang Cheng pushed open the door and came in, and Dishuman asked, where's Wang Lei? He ran away, Xiang Cheng said. The rain outside stopped, but the sky was still dark. Jomokyo appeared on a patch of open ground. How come it's you guys? At the same time, the black gas around the forest was funneled back up into the sky like a reverse waterfall. A strong wind that went against the flow of the gas began to blow, and around the entire practical exam site, a wall emitting black light was formed. Chi Wei ran out of the woods, looking up as he ran. All the exorcists felt the impact of this scene, and the dark clouds in the sky turned into a ferocious face. Mara. Dishuman's voice trembled. Teacher Zheng and the old Buddha are ready. Jomokyo said, we just need to hold this spot, get ready. Chi Wei. Xiang Cheng. Protect me as I cast the spell. In the blink of an eye, the ferocious face opened its huge mouth and spat out fireballs from the sky. Meteors erupted from its mouth one after another and fell to the ground, each of which made the earth shake. Now! Jomokyo shouted, and put his hands together. A Tai Chi diagram appeared at his feet. Dishuman went back into the wooden cabin, put her hands into the sand table, and stirred her left hand up and her right hand down. All the surrounding trees rolled towards them, forming the first line of defense. Meteorites hit the shield, broke through the barrier of wood and stone, and even more flaming meteors shot towards the ground. Chi Wei and Xiang Cheng released powerful magic at the same time. Xiang Cheng's whole body glowed with an azure light, Chi Wei burst into red light, and a red dragon and the boss snake appeared at the same time, spewing azure and red dragon fire into the sky. The huge face in the sky opened its blood-red eyes and stared down at the ground. JIXIAN immediately shuddered. There was a feeling like his soul had been seen through, as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped over his head, and strong resentment and pain filled his heart. Xiang Cheng was completely stunned, and he stared fixedly at the sky, his pupils contracting violently. Jomokyo roared, go! The Tai Chi diagram rotated and shot up into the sky. It blocked off Mara's gaze. In the same second, the metallist ancient towering tree on the mountain had already drawn down so much lightning that it had reached its limit, and it was like a lightning rod that would explode and shoot lightning into the sky at any time. Teacher Zheng murmured an incantation and made a gesture. With a bang, the air grew ionized, and the ancient tree discharged lightning towards the sky. A dragon-like bolt of lightning pierced the sky in an instant, connecting the ground to the sky. Electricity surged and jumped in the dark clouds, and the ferocious huge face let out a wailing sound, and dissipated along with the dark clouds. The current had come too fast, and it was just one big flash, forming after images in JIXIAN's eyes. He seemed to see the huge monster in the air, but he couldn't see its shape clearly. It looked like a head the size of a small planet. However, before the head could dodge, it had dissipated under the lightning and thunder. Hey, that's enough for him, La. Teacher Zheng put on sunglasses and smiled at Lin Yura. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. In front of the cabin in the forest. You guys continue with the exam. Jomokyo said to Xiang Cheng, Chi Wei, and JIXIAN. JIXIAN asked, was Mara also rented? Jomokyo. When JIXIAN left, he saw Jomokyo on the phone. What just happened? JIXIAN asked, why did Wang Lei attack that big sister? Wang Lei has been exposed as the traitor. Xiang Cheng said, we'll talk about it after we get back. Where's Jinghao? Escaped. Chi Wei said, that monster was Jinghao. Xiang Cheng stayed silent and simply nodded. The three of them left the cabin, and Dishuman poked her head out and shouted to them, there is a road behind the mountain. Go up along the ridge and you can get to the exit in 6 hours. Chi Wei said with a smile, Thank you, teacher Di. You're welcome. They left the cabin and walked slowly along the winding mountain road towards the ridge. Are you okay? JIXIAN looked at Xiang Cheng with worry. Xiang Cheng couldn't help panting while climbing the mountain, and he glanced at JIXIAN and shook his head. JIXIAN put a hand on his forehead and found it a little hot. Shit, how did this happen? In JIXIAN's memory, Xiang Cheng hardly fell ill. Qi Wei said, I'll go find you some medicine. Xiang Cheng waved his hand and said, I'll be fine after having a rest. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a sentry post appeared on the ridge. Xiang Cheng exhaled a boiling hot breath and said, let's rest here and continue walking after the sun sets. Qi Wei observed the surrounding terrain and said, I'll go out and have a look. Xiang Cheng said, don't go too far. JIXIAN was very worried, shaking the hand that he was holding, but Xiang Cheng indicated with a glance that it was all right. Qi Wei went out to find some mountain herbs and came back. He said at the door, JIXIAN, can you help start a fire for me? Xiang Cheng slept on the ground of the sentry post, while JIXIAN went out to light a fire with Qi Wei, washed the empty lunch meat cans, and set them on the fire to burn. All three of them were covered with dirt and sweat. JIXIAN smelled his short-sleeved t-shirt and finally knew how Xiang Cheng's dirty appearance came to be. What happened just now? Qi Wei asked. How would I know? JIXIAN asked, there were no signs at all. What happened to Luan? Was he eaten by Jinghai? Qi Wei pondered for a moment and then said, maybe Luan had already been devoured by Jinghai. Then what about Jinghai? JIXIAN asked. Qi Wei said, he ran away. After staying in Beijing for so long, did you discover anything unusual in the exorcism committee? JIXIAN remembered the JIXIAN case and talked about it a bit to Qi Wei. Qi Wei replied, I've heard some vague mentions of that. Didn't Xiang Cheng mention it? JIXIAN asked. Qi Wei shook his head and replied, no, I probably understand now. Understand what? JIXIAN asked. Qi Wei didn't reply and asked instead, Teacher Zhou Mokuo and old Buddha Lin Yura aren't in the same faction, are they? JIXIAN. Is Chen Zhen closer to Teacher Zhou Mokuo? Qi Wei then asked. It seems so. JIXIAN thought for a moment and replied, I often see Chen Zhen looking for him. N. Qi Wei nodded thoughtfully. JIXIAN then asked, Chen Zhen isn't going to be a problem, is he? Qi Wei waved his hand and said, Chen Zhen could never be the traitor. Teacher Zhou has also been investigated, and he is not a spy. JIXIAN recalled that Qi Wei and Chen Zhen knew each other, so he relaxed and nodded. Qi Wei smiled and said, Director Lin is so powerful, even Teacher Zhou and Chen Zhen were kept in the dark. While talking, Qi Wei raised his head and looked towards the end of the chain of mountains. JIXIAN asked, what was that thing that appeared at the end? Mara. Qi Wei replied, Lin Yura set up a trap to lure it out. I don't know how Jinghai escaped. Reasonably speaking, he should still be locked up in the prison under the Lingjing Alley. Ah! JIXIAN suddenly understood something. What is Mara? JIXIAN asked. It's a very powerful devil. Qi Wei said, it is a power that was born from the heavenly and earth veins, and it was hiding somewhere. 200 years ago, the exorcism department of the Qing dynasty dispersed it, but it did not completely dissipate. Now it likely wants to make a comeback. And Wang Lei is working for him too. JIXIAN had been completely confused before, but things seemed much clearer after Qi Wei's explanation. Qi Wei nodded and said, he has already been lurking for decades. I originally thought that the traitor was Teacher Zhou Mokuo, but now it seems that Wang Lei was the biggest spy in the exorcism committee. Will there be another one? JIXIAN asked. Qi Wei thought for a moment, shook his head, and said, it's hard to say, but I don't think it's very possible. If the senior levels of the exorcism committee are infiltrated again, then there's no point in letting the old Buddha stick around. The two of them sat quietly beside the fire, and JIXIAN couldn't help looking at Xiang Cheng inside. Xiang Cheng had just used the power of the boss snake, so was that why he had started to have a fever? Qi Wei fell silent, seemingly deep in thought. JIXIAN couldn't stop worrying about Xiang Cheng, and he wanted to go in and have a look, but Qi Wei stopped him. I don't understand. Qi Wei said, why did Jinghao come back? JIXIAN said, I think Jinghao wants to kill Teacher Zhou. Why do you say that? Qi Wei asked. JIXIAN thought of what had happened in the exorcism committee that day, but Chen Zhen had asked him not to say anything about it. His expression was a little embarrassed, and seeing that it was inconvenient for him to say why, Qi Wei waved his hand and said, however, Jinghao didn't go after Teacher Zhou, but instead went for you. Maybe he thought that I felt familiar but. JIXIAN said, because I knew a Chai Wen. It's possible. Qi Wei said, Doubty, Chai Wen, and, this explanation just barely makes sense. Qi Wei was thoughtful, and JIXIAN asked, is Jinghao's real form a Doubty? No. Qi Wei fiddled with the fire with a branch. The tin gave off the strong smell of herbs, and he took out a little powder from a small bag and put it in the box. It's aspirin, don't worry. Jinghao used to be just an ordinary exorcist. Qi Wei said, a guy from Hunan. His master was up to no good, and he injected him with Doubty blood. He wanted to use him as a test subject to improve his own strength. JIXIAN said, the blood of monsters is highly toxic. I remember that it has a great impact on the body. Some people have the will to resist it, Qi Wei said, and some people can't. Jinghao's master was Dinghai. He was a madman. He performed this kind of experimentation on all his disciples, and in the end, he did it on himself as well. JIXIAN was stunned. Qi Wei said, the power of Yao blood is very horrifying, and made their bodies mutate. They said that Jinghao didn't know this when he was young, and he still worked for the exorcist committee then. Later, the organization found that many exorcists who had worked with him had gone missing, he had eaten them all. Every time he eats someone, he grows stronger, Qi Wei said. Of course, it was said that it was just a rumor. Finally, after an investigation, it was found that he was seduced by Mara and was corrupted. As for Dinghai, Qi Wei said, he was Elder Zheng's Shixing. He and Elder Zheng found a dragon in the Kunlun Mountains. Elder Zheng received that dragon's eyes, and Dinghai took that dragon's blood. They suspect that Dinghai finally went corrupt as well and injected himself with a lot of Yao blood. The exorcist committee calls him the blood devil body. JIXIAN's jaw hit the ground. Qi Wei laughed and said, I'll tell you more gossip about the exorcist committee later, go and check on Xiang Cheng Ba. JIXIAN wrapped the tin with a cloth and took out the stewed herbs inside of it. Xiang Cheng was asleep on his side, and JIXIAN woke him up and said, drink some medicine. What is this? Xiang Cheng took a sip. It was so bitter that his face twisted with disgust. Kikai stewed it for you. JIXIAN replied. Xiang Cheng finished drinking the medicine, leaned against the corner of the wall, and closed his eyes. JIXIAN lay in his arms and hugged him around the waist. Outside, Qi Wei said, I'll keep watch for a while, you guys rest first. As the sun sank in the west, JIXIAN heard voices outside the house. Kita, Chen Zhen, and the others had also arrived. Everyone talked quietly but quickly about what had happened today, and JIXIAN yawned and opened his eyes. He didn't know when Xiang Cheng had woken up, but his eyes had been open the entire time. When JIXIAN walked outside, suddenly everyone stopped talking. After a short silence, Chen Zhen asked, is Xiang Cheng better? He's a bit better, JIXIAN replied. He's still lying down. Let's rest here for a while ba. Chen Zhen said, my feet are about to fall off. Did you guys run into a Yaoguai? JIXIAN looked at Kita, who was soaking wet and covered with strange mucus from head to foot. Kita, what do you think? JIXIAN laughed, found a rag and wiped Kita down. Zhou Wanyuan looked at JIXIAN a bit suspiciously. Fang Yulan said, we ran into an earthworm on another mountain. The Yao Earth Dragon. JIXIAN said right away. Yes. Fang Yulan said with a smile, it will regenerate after being cut, and Kita Dage was sprayed from head to toe. Is there water? Kita asked, this feels terrible. Down the mountain. Chi Wei said, walk 10 kilometers. Kita had to give up and wipe again and again. The atmosphere remained a little strange, and JIXIAN had a feeling that they had been talking about himself and Xiang Chen before he came out. JIXIAN wanted to ask something but Chi Wei stopped him with a glance. End chapter.